Hi, I'm talking from inside a little block to get out of the sun a little bit because it's so hot, but I need a place to be private. I just came back from a bookstore coffee house with Priya, our office manager, where we reviewed my recommendations, and there were a lot of recommendations. It's a really good program. It's just how do you make sure it's standardized and continues and that type of thing, so you don't have to keep recreating the wheel. But one of the things that stood out was that we, from the very beginning, focused on a self-care plan, that there'd be exit interviews, and that those exit interviews be done in a timely manner so that if you needed to do a debriefing or connect somebody at home, their home for a debriefing, that's possible, because the potential for experiencing critical incidents here are pretty darn high. I've worked with folks who, mothers who lost their children, and we're talking about really recently lost their children in front of them. When I was in Jordan, we had folks who over and over again had been paralyzed because of snipers who intentionally shot them knowing they were civilians. And so it's impossible to hear this kind of stuff over and over again and not be touched if you're a human and not a sociopath. And so self-care is really critical, and aftercare is critical. And so this morning when I woke up, the first thing I read was a report of a suicide bomber in East Mosul. Now, East Mosul is the area that I was at last weekend. I reported to you. I was with Dylan, and we drove slowly through East Mosul. Market life was open. I talked about what peace looked like 6 months after liberation. It was the safe part, and those bombs went off today. And then if you look at the videotape I posted from Michael, our medical director here, he and Elena, our nurse who in her regular life works at a emergency room, the area that we used last weekend as the parking lot that overlooks the expressway was lined this morning with body bags of people who died before Michael ever got there. He worked on folks who had been the victims or the intended victims of the suicide bomber. He's worked with a number of people who didn't make it, and people who are struggling to survive, and people who have lost ears and eyes and limbs. And so when I talk to my students about self-care, it's not a mantra that I just say because it's easier than teaching, or that it's the one thing I know or something. It's because if we're going to be useful and be tools and healers and if we're going to take care of ourselves, then self-care is absolutely vital. And so there's not going to be any easy thing for Michael and Elena to do when they come back. They're going to be touched by what they experienced, but hopefully by caring for themselves, they'll be able to prepare other people to also serve in critical places that most of us won't serve. So I'm really honored to know those two. They're pretty incredible people. And to make this a sappier moment, as I'm talking to you, for the first time I noticed I'm seeing the Kurdistan flag flying right not far from here. It's really beautiful. It looks like the Iraqi flag with the sun in the center. Anyway, so where they were speaking from was the clinic that Michael and I were at last week. I'm sorry, that Dylan and I were at last week. And I wanted to go back to that today, and wasn't able because, as Dylan pointed out, they needed nurses and doctors and medics and, not psych sessions. And he was absolutely right. They need to be stabilized, and later on they can talk to somebody like me. But the other part is that when we went last week, we thought it was safe, and obviously East Mosul is not the safest place in the world right now. But certainly West Mosul, where the clinic is, it's relatively safe. But when I was there last week, I could hear the helicopters, see the helicopters, hear and feel the bombs, smell the smoke, and then drive and see the areas that had been hit by bombs. But if you're listening to that tape from last week and I'm talking to you, if you listen carefully, the noise you're hearing in the back are bullets. And so, while I would have liked to have been there to be a witness, to take stories, to support people, the other part is I had promised Kathy that I would stay safe, and I think that would have been a little bit of a violation. Now, having said that, I assure you that Michael and Elena are safe. It's out of sniper range, and the ISIS fighters are otherwise occupied. But it's not without a price, because the things that they're witnessing, are difficult things to witness. But the gift of their training is extremely important. So that's it. I just wanted to do an update on that, and still wrapping up. Still knowing that by this time tomorrow I'll be getting ready to go to the airport. So that's all for now. Take care. Bye.